Truly, whoever can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Surely we have enough examples going on in our world today to substantiate the veracity of this claim. Voltaire was onto something. We just have to watch the January 6th committee hearings on our TVs. The big lie led to the violent attack on Congress. The big lie is the absurdity. The attack on Congress is the atrocity. And Donald Trump is the perpetrator who convinced nearly half the country to believe in the big lie and who incited the attack on Congress. It is an awesome and fearful power, this power to convince people to believe absurdities, and based on those absurdities, to commit atrocities. Just as Hitler's propaganda convinced the German people that Jews were subhuman, vermin, that deserved to be exterminated. Russian propaganda directed to their own people has convinced them that Ukrainians are subhuman Nazis who deserve to be exterminated. From this big lie comes mass murder, war crimes, making targets out of hospitals and schools, out of civilians, out of absurdities come atrocities. Our founding fathers were surely aware of this pattern of human fallibility. They were prey to it themselves. They never did figure out a way to rationalize building a nation founded on freedom and liberty when so many of them owned slaves. What made chattel slavery possible was the big lie that dark-skinned Africans are subhuman, inferior to light-skinned people in every way. Based on that absurdity, countless atrocities were born. Torture, children torn from their mothers, husband and wives torn asunder. Maiming as punishment, rape. These are just a few of the atrocities of slavery, all giving the lie to our claims of equality and freedom, all giving the lie to our claims to be a nation based on reason. It turned out that reason was a two-edged sword. It could as easily provide the backing for the big lie as for truth, all depending on the assumptions you started with. Martin Luther proclaimed that reason is a whore because of this potential to choose the outcome that you want and then pick the assumptions that get you there. When I was a ministerial student, I had to read a book by Earl Wilbur Morse, or possibly Earl Morse Wilbur. I'm dyslexic, and I've never gotten his name straight. It's a book about the history of Unitarianism, tracing the growth of Unitarianism from the Italian Renaissance to the Transylvanian Unitarians, to the Polish Brothers, to the English Unitarians, to the American Unitarians. Now, those are all separate organizations. They weren't bound together institutionally. They were bound together by their beliefs. Morse saw the unifying theme as their shared belief in tolerance, reason, and liberty. When I went before the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, the committee of the UUA that determines whether you're appropriate to be a UU minister or not, one prominent member of the committee demanded rather truculently to know whether I still believed in reason, even though I am a Buddhist. I responded that the Dalai Lama says that religion without reason is like a river without a bank. It just spreads out and goes anywhere. This seemed to satisfy him. In recent years, though, reason has come under attack in the UUA. More and more critical race theory, CRT, has gained influence, and many people interpret CRT as rejecting logic and reason. It favors storytelling instead. From their point of view, Enlightenment reason was a big part of why Africans were enslaved in chattel slavery. Like most other Enlightenment philosophers, even Voltaire believed that Africans were biologically inferior to white people, subhuman, and thus appropriate to be made slaves. And the atrocities continued throughout the centuries in the form of science, which was used to prove the inferiority of Black people. Reason tends to focus on the majority, on the center of the bell curve. CRT puts the emphasis on storytelling as the way to know reality, because storytelling has room for those on the margins. As many of you know, Greg, my husband, is a mathematician. He believes in reason because he is rooted in the history of science used appropriately, and science is rooted in reason. He has gotten into the habit of frequenting UU web pages and chat rooms. And he's had disconcerting experiences there. When he tried to explain why reason is important on one UU page, he was told that he didn't belong in the UUA and that he might be more comfortable somewhere else. When he tried to use reason to understand what someone else had said that was being interpreted unjustly to Greg's way of thinking as being racist, he was told he was a racist. He's been told that he's a racist several times on UU web pages. I know him well enough to say that that's not true. I'm afraid that we're beginning to see the absurdity, atrocity pattern play out in the UUA. Just as Jews were seen as vermin and Ukrainians as Nazis. Anyone who disagrees with the latest version of anti-racism in the UUA is seen as a racist. The absurdity is that if you don't believe what I believe, you're a racist. The atrocities have not yet developed, but will probably include being excluded if you're not pure enough. It's already happening. I believe it's essential that we in the UU movement grapple with anti-racism and how we are implicated as participants in the racial caste system that shapes our country and our movement. Our principles of respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, justice, compassion, and equity in human relations, and respect for the interdependent web of being of which we are a part, require us to undertake the effort. But I pray that we can do so without labeling each other and excluding those we disagree with. We are an inclusive movement, and it would go against our very identity to exclude those who have the wrong political position. Let's make a conscious effort not to buy into absurdities, that we might avoid the atrocities that follow. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. And I chose the closing hymn, Rank by Rank Again We Stand, to remind us that we're part of an ongoing movement, that Unitarian Universalism didn't just start when we walked in this door, and that there will be generations after ours of Unitarian Universalists.